Welcome to Cost Saver Conversations. I'm Angela, and I ask the practical questions so you can quickly understand what matters. Today, I'm joined by Assad.
Hi, Angela. We are unpacking the real cost of the UK school run, a fair family splitter guide today, and tying it back to the wider cost saver ecosystem, including tools like School Run Cost Splitter UK, Fair Family Share, so you can turn insights into action quickly.
Just a heads up before we dive in, we are your synthetic hosts. We are great with numbers, but as AI, we can sometimes be confidently wrong. Think of us as the digital versions of your most knowledgeable, slightly caffeinated friends.
Exactly. Treat this chat as a smart estimate only, not as professional financial guidance. Always check important details with official sources or a qualified expert before making any big decisions.
Welcome back, everyone. So today we're getting into something that I think most of us just kind of sleepwalk through. Assad, you've been digging into the actual costs here, and I have a feeling it's not just about filling up the tank, is it?
No, it really isn't. I mean, most parents I talk to, they'll say something like, oh, it's a few quid a week in petrol. And look, that's comforting, but it's wildly wrong.
Wildly wrong. Okay, how wrong?
So when you actually look at what happens to a car on those short stop-start cold journeys, because that's what the school run is, right? The true cost per mile is way higher than people think. It's closer to what HMRC uses for business mileage, which is 45p a mile for the first 10,000 miles a year.
45p a mile. Right.
Yeah, and so for a typical 3-mile each-way primary school run, that comes out at roughly $1,026 a year. That you're just absorbing without noticing,
Wait, over a grand just for the school run?
just for the school run.
I was gonna say, actually, no, I genuinely had no idea it was that much. And you're saying families are overpaying by what, hundreds on top of that?
Yeah, so most families I've helped are quietly overpaying by somewhere between $400 and $700 a year because they're only budgeting for the petrol. They're just not seeing the rest of it.
And this matters more when you're sharing the school run, right? Like with a partner or a neighbor or...
Exactly. That's where it gets messy because someone always feels like they're doing more driving, spending more money, or just not getting enough credit for it. And without actual numbers, resentment just kind of quietly builds, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. It's one of those things that simmers.
It really does. But the good news is, once you understand the components, it becomes a math problem rather than an emotional negotiation. Does that make sense?
It does. So let's get into the scale of this. How many kids are actually being driven to school?
So around 41% of primary school pupils and 22% of secondary school pupils are driven by car. The average primary journey is 1.6 miles one way. Secondary is 3.5 miles. And rural families, they're often doing much further, sometimes 8 to 12 miles each way.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of driving.
It is. And then you multiply by 190 school days a year, plus all the extras. After school clubs, sports matches, the dreaded I forgot my PE kit round trip.
Oh, God, yes.
A modest 3-mile each-way run comes out at roughly 2,280 miles per year. So at 45p a mile, the 1,026 figure, the few quid a week story completely falls apart.
It really does. So break it down for me. What's actually in that number besides petrol?
Okay, so for an average two-child family, annually, fuel is 280 to 400 pounds. Then depreciation, which is the big one people miss, that's 180 to 320. Servicing and consumables, tires, brakes, oil, 120 to 200 pounds. Increased insurance premiums because of higher mileage, 40 to 90 pounds. And then parking fines, permits, occasional paid parking, that's another 20 to 80 pounds.
Right.
So total, you're looking at roughly 640 to 1,090 pounds per year. And I haven't even factored in time.
Even on the low end, 640 pounds is so much more than a few quid. The depreciation one, though, I hadn't really thought about that. Can you explain why short journeys are so bad for it?
Yeah, so Cars lose value over time, obviously, but they lose it faster when they're driven hard on short trips. The engine rarely reaches optimal operating temperature on the school run, so you get more condensation in the oil, more wear on the catalytic converter, more strain on the battery from all those repeated starts. A typical family hatchback loses between 10p and 18p per mile in depreciation, and the short code journeys just accelerate all of that.
Hmm.
And honestly, this is a big warning. Diesel cars suffer disproportionately. DPF blockages, the diesel particulate filter, they're really common on short journeys, and they can cost 400 to 1,500 pounds to sort out. If you've got a diesel and you're mostly doing the school run, that's a genuine financial risk.
Oh, I didn't know that about diesels. That's actually really important. What about tires and brakes? I mean, I guess all that queuing and maneuvering at drop-off takes its toll.
Yeah, massively. All the queuing, edging forward, reversing into tight bays, brakes and tires just get hammered. That's about 5p to 8p per mile. A set of 4 decent tires is 280 to 600 pounds depending on the car. Brake pads and discs, 180 to 350 per axle.
And then insurance on top of that.
Right, so most UK insurers ask for your estimated annual mileage. If you move from, say, 6,000 miles to 8,000 miles, your premium can jump by 30 to 80 pounds. And this is the bit that scares me. If you underdeclare and then have a claim, they can reduce the payout or refuse it altogether. So being honest about school-run mileage isn't optional.
It's essential. Yeah. That's a bit scary, actually. You don't want to invalidate your insurance because you underestimated by a couple thousand miles. And then parking, I imagine that's a whole other headache.
Oh, it is, especially in urban areas. Zigzag line fines are 70 pounds, reduced to 35 if you pay within 14 days. Bus lane fines are 60 to 160, depending on the local authority. Meter parking during pickup can be 150 to 300 per session. Permits for parking near urban schools, 30 to 150 annually. One ticket just wipes out weeks of careful budgeting.
Ugh, and then there's time, which is kind of a lot.
It really is. 20 minutes each way, that's 40 minutes a day, roughly 127 hours per school year. If your time is worth $15 an hour, that's $1,900 in hidden opportunity cost. You're not paying it in pounds, but it's real. And any fair cost-splitting conversation should acknowledge that the driver is giving up something valuable.
$1,900? That's wild. So, okay, given all of this, how do families actually split these costs fairly without it becoming, a massive row at the kitchen table?
Yeah. So the best starting point is that HMRC rate, the 45p per mile. It's not arbitrary. It's specifically built to cover fuel, depreciation, servicing, tires, insurance for an average UK vehicle. So it gives you a defensible, independent number that nobody can really argue is unfair.
But what if my car's like super cheap to run? Or what if it's a big SUV? Can you adjust it?
Totally. If it's a small petrol hatchback, you might agree on 35p. If it's a large SUV or a diesel doing lots of short trips, 50p might be more honest. The important thing is both parties agree on the rate before you do any sums. Get that straight up front.
That makes sense. And then, do you need some kind of app to track everything? Or
No, nothing fancy. Just log the miles honestly for a fortnight. Note the date, who drove, round-trip distance, any extra stops, nursery, after-school club, whatever, and any parking fees or fines. Total it up. 2 weeks is enough to spot the pattern without it becoming, exhausting. Then multiply by 19 to get an approximate school year total. That's 39 school weeks divided by 2.
okay, so you've got the rate, you've got the miles. What are the actual options for splitting it?
There are 3 fair ways. First is an equal share, where each parent or family pays the same regardless of who drives. Simple, but it's only fair if the driving genuinely is equal. Second is per-mile reimbursement, where the non-driver pays the driver a fixed rate per mile. That's the fairest for uneven arrangements. And third is a rota with a balancing payment. You take turns driving and settle any imbalance in cash at the end of each half term.
Can you walk me through an example? Like a real one?
Yeah, sure. So I work with a couple, Sarah and Tom, in Reading. Sarah did the school run 4 days a week. Tom did Fridays. Round trip was 5 miles. Over a school year, Sarah covered 780 miles. That's 4 times 5 times 39. Tom covered 195 miles.
Right.
At 45p per mile, Sarah had absorbed 351 pounds in motoring cost. Tom, 87 pounds, 75. If they agreed to share the total 50-50, Tom owed Sarah roughly 131 pounds a year to make it fair. And Tom's honest reaction was, I had no idea it was that lopsided.
I bet. And I guess for a lot of couples, they won't literally transfer the money, but just knowing the imbalance is there changes things?
Exactly. Most couples absorb it into general household finances, but the point is the imbalance is visible. And one parent might take on more housework or cooking or admin to balance it out. It doesn't have to be cash.
What about carpools, like three families or something?
Yeah, so 3 families taking turns on a weekly rota, round trip of 8 miles. Each family drives about 13 weeks per year, covering 520 miles. If everyone's roughly equal, no reimbursement needed. But if one family covers extra weeks because another's on holiday, you just settle the imbalance at the end of term at 45p a mile. A shared spreadsheet works really well for that.
And what about separated parents? Because that's gotta be a more sensitive conversation.
It can be, yeah. So, an example, Emma has the children Monday to Wednesday, does those school runs. James has Thursday and Friday. Round trip is 4 miles. Emma drives 468 miles a year. James drives 312 miles. If child maintenance already accounts for it, no separate settlement needed. If not, Emma's done about 70 pounds more driving over the year. It's not huge, but it's there.
And people often ask, doesn't putting numbers on it make things awkward, like with a neighbor or an ex?
I get that question all the time, and honestly, my experience is the opposite. Fuzzy arrangements cause the resentment. Once the numbers are on paper, everyone relaxes because nobody's quietly keeping score in their head anymore. It just takes the pressure off.
Oh, that's actually reassuring. I would have assumed the opposite. So, beyond splitting, can families actually reduce the total cost?
Oh, definitely. Walking or cycling for shorter journeys, for primary schools under a mile away, walking is genuinely faster than the car queue in most towns. Establish a proper carpool with 2 or 3 families. That cuts each family's driving by 50 to 66%. Combine it with your commute if you can, or try a park and stride. Park half a mile from school, walk the last bit. Saves on parking, beats the traffic.
And there are walking bus schemes too, right?
Yeah, loads of primary schools organize supervised walking groups, free, and they work really well.
Love that. Anything people should watch out for, though? Any sort of gotchas?
One big one. Watch out for informal childminder arrangements where a neighbor offers to do the school run for a small cash payment. If they're doing it regularly for money, they may legally count as a childminder and need Ofsted registration. Get that wrong, and you could actually invalidate your household insurance.
Wow, I would never have thought of that.
Yeah, it catches people out.
Okay, so before we wrap up, one thing I wanted to ask. People push back on the 45p rate, right? They say it's too high?
They do, yeah. And the answer is, it's the rate HMRC uses precisely because it reflects real UK motoring costs. But if your car is smaller and cheaper to run, agree on 35p together. The rate is a starting point, not a demand. The key is just that both sides agree before you start calculating.
Huh, fair enough. And do people actually have to transfer money each time?
No, many couples just note the imbalance and let it inform other household decisions. For carpools and separated parents, a small quarterly settlement usually feels fairest. Nobody wants to be Venmoing each other every Tuesday.
No, definitely not. Okay, so Assad, give us the quick recap. What should people actually do with all this?
Sure. So the school run costs way more than most people think. Easily double. Fuel is just the visible bit. Depreciation, servicing, tires, insurance, your time. That's where the real money is. But sorting it out isn't hard. Use the HMRC 45p rate as your anchor. Adjust it together if you need to. Log the miles honestly for a fortnight. Agree the split method up front, equal share, per mile, or rota with balancing payment. Handle fines and parking as one-offs, don't bake them in, and just have the conversation. Once the numbers are visible, the arguments stop.
I love that. Have the conversation. Assad, thank you. This has been genuinely eye-opening. I think a lot of people are going to look at their school run very differently after this.
Thanks, Angela. And honestly, just spend 10 minutes with your real numbers. It's worth it.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. Quick side note, this guide connects with other cost-saver blogs, especially postcode crime data and rental risk, UK town job market profiler mistakes and hidden costs, and checklists to verify before choosing a local service provider.
Exactly. And reading those together helps you connect the dots across your household budget, not just this one topic in isolation.
And if you want to apply this immediately, jump into tools like School Run Cost Splitter UK, Fair Family Share right after this episode.
Primary sources used here include HMRC-approved mileage allowance payments and Money Saving Expert, so you can verify the data yourself and stay evidence-led.
That wraps this cost saver conversation with Angela and Assad. If this helped, share it with someone who could put these ideas to work this week.
Your next step is simple. Try School Run Cost Splitter UK, Fair Family Share, then read postcode crime data and rental risk, and use them together to take action today.